What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be doing a beginner's item guide on Meepo, and a lot of players have been requesting in the comment section below on how to play Meepo, how to build Meepo. So this is going to be a very easy guide for these beginner players who want to start playing Meepo and want to get the gist of how you should be building Meepo in a more standard basis, as it is kind of difficult to build this hero. Even though most of the builds are kind of cookie cutter, it can be a little overwhelming at first, especially for players trying to get the habit of playing Meepo. That can be very difficult on its own, and people don't really want to have to worry about items. But first, I'm going to tell you guys what heroes typically are good and bad up against Meepo, so you guys kind of get the gist of what you should be building, and then I will be giving you guys some item guides. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the video. So typically Meepo is good up against heroes like Anti-Mage, Arc Warden, Zeus, Spectre. These types of heroes that you can get on top of and burst them down quickly with poof, as it is pure damage, and these heroes definitely have nothing going for pure damage, as no other hero in Dota has any pure damage resistance. So that's definitely going to help you out a lot. If you are playing carry Meepo, you typically want to max poof, as you're going to be farming a lot more. If you're playing mid Meepo, then you definitely want to take ransack, as you're going to be a lot more active and you're going to be taking in a lot of trades, and you definitely want to be able to trade very efficiently against other heroes in the side lanes. And some of the matchups that Meepo is typically bad up against are heroes like Elder Titan, Earthshaker, Winter Wyvern, Troll Warlord, Timbersaw, Necro, and Huskar. So there is a bunch of heroes that typically Meepo is bad up against, but the better you are as a Meepo player, the more these counters are not going to mess with you so much, as you are going to be counterpicked quite a bit. If you are not last picking Meepo, you are definitely doing something wrong, because this hero definitely needs to be a last pick hero, because you can easily be countered. And if you're a newer player trying to get the hang of this hero, you definitely don't want to run into any hard counters, as it's going to make your life a living hell, as you don't understand how to play the hero enough to be able to deal with these matchups. So you typically want to play into free Meepo games at first, and then once you get more skill on the hero, you can actually play against a lot of counter matchups, and eventually you will see which matchups are the worst for you. Heroes like Elder Titan are not very popular, especially in low MMR. That hero is practically unplayed. But the higher you go, typical players will play the Elder Titan, as they're going to get a lot of damage and they're going to be able to burst the Meepo quite easily. And heroes like Huskar and Necro are always very, very popular in the mid lane meta. So you definitely need to watch out for those, as they are lane dominators and make your life a living hell and makes it very, very difficult. But typically, if you are going to build Meepo, one of the easiest ways to build them is to rush your Wraith Band. That is the first thing you're going to get. And then you go for the Power Treads. And if you are going up against a lineup that can burst you quite easily, you want to go for items like Dragonlance, and then you want to go for Aghanim Scepter, Shard, and Scotty. That is going to make you extremely tanky. It's also going to help you a lot with sustain, and Dig is one of the best abilities Meepo has, so I highly recommend you get that before getting Aghanim Scepter. And the Mega Meepo is something that is amazing for the Meepo, especially for newer players, because it's just so forgiving. If there's a really big team fight and everybody wants to commit on the Meepo, which typically happens more often than not, as they see Meepo as a really big threat, even if you're a newer player that definitely doesn't understand what to do on this hero, they still just see the hero and think you're a smurf, so they're going to be focusing you quite heavily. So Dragonlance is one of the best items you can pick up, as it makes you extremely tanky, and it's very nice agility and strength, and it's a very cheap item that you can pick up nice and early. Another item build you guys can go for, if you guys are not the main damage dealers and you guys just want to have setup and control, you can always go for the Power Treads, the Wraith Band, Blink, and then Scotty. Blink is going to allow you to blank poof on the targets and net them, and it's going to give you that extra catch, and then you can eventually turn that into a swift blink, which is going to give you that extra agility and damage. And Scotty is just overall one of the best items you can build on Meepo, as stats are always going to be the #1 thing you build on this hero, as it benefits all the Meepos rather than items like Monkey King Bar, Daedalus. These types of items definitely don't benefit the Meepo as much as other items like Scotty. Another item build I would definitely like to tell you guys is when you go for the Power Treads, the Diffusal, the Aghanim Scepter, and the Butterfly, and then eventually a Scotty. This item build is one of the more solid ones, as you can eventually burst a lot of heroes that you weren't typically able to burst. Butterfly is a very nice item on this hero, and very, very underrated, especially when you're going up against physical lineups. Meepo does have really high agility, but Butterfly is just a nice item. It's good stats. It gives you that extra evasion, which is always going to be nice. And I've seen a lot of players upgrading the Diffusal to Disperser. Disperser is very nice, as you get that extra boost of speed and also a basic dispel, which is always going to be very nice. Dig is also a dispel, and these abilities are going to help you stay alive much longer, and they're going to give you that extra damage you are going to need. And eventually, if you do have trouble on catching on targets, you can always get a swift blink. It's a nice way to finish up your item build. These item builds are pretty much cookie cutter as they are, but you will definitely see within your matchups that you can go for items like wand and these types of items. You can definitely go for a bracer as well if you see that you're being just harassed so much, but typically bracer is just not that great of an item on Meepo. But I've seen some really good Meepo players in certain situations when they're going up against heroes like Necro or Huskar, where they need that little bit of extra HP. The bracer is definitely not going to be a terrible option. It's still really good stats, and it's going to give you that extra tank ability that you definitely need. Another thing you can actually do is leave 1 point in Earthbind, 1 point in Poof, 4 points in Ransack, and then just max stats. Don't take any of your talents. You can just max your stats until you have a max. It's going to make Meepo extremely tanky, do a lot of damage early on, and just focus on farming. This hero takes over the map really quickly. You're able to finish games in pretty much the fastest fashion. This is why it's the preferred hero for Smurfs, as they can easily take over the game and win games a lot quicker. If you become a proficient Meepo, you will be climbing MMR super quickly. I highly recommend this hero. It's also really fun to play. It's not just a farming simulator. There's a lot of players who want to go Diffusal Blink and just run at people with Meepo, and it's just a very fun style to play as you're consistently very active on the map and a really big threat, and it's just my favorite way to play Meepo. It is a lot more difficult, as blink poofing is definitely not easy for newer players to understand, but once you practice it enough, it's pretty much the best way and most funnest way to actually play Meepo. I definitely enjoy it quite a bit. Definitely let me know in the comment section below if you guys are Meepo spammers. What tips would you guys recommend for these newer players in the comment section below? It is always nice to see the community helping each other out, especially for newer players that definitely don't have too much to go for and are constantly being flamed. I definitely don't stand for toxicity, especially against newer players. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video and learned something. If you did, leave a comment down below and let me know what is your favorite thing about Meepo and what makes the hero super fun for you guys to play. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.